Welcome to the LD Aviation Podcast. I'm Lindsay Dyer, founder of LD Aviation, where we support flight departments with scheduling, dispatch, and international operations. On this show, we go beyond the day-to-day of aviation and talk about what's actually shaping the industry. Most people in business aviation know that National Business Aviation Association exists, but very few actually understand how decisions get made, how policies are shaped, or how much influence operators really have in that process. So today we're pulling back the curtain on that. I'm joined by Phil Derner and Kristi Ivey, two regional directors at NBAA, who sit right at the intersection of operators, regulators, and the future of business aviation. So we're talking about advocacy, what's actually changing right now, and where operators may be missing opportunities to have their voice heard. Welcome, Kristi and Phil. Thank you so much for coming to speak with me today.
Thank you for having us. We're happy to be here.
Great. Okay, so I want to kind of do first off a little quick version of, like how did you get into NBAA and how did you get into aviation? Phil, you want to start?
Sure. I grew up in New York, and my aviation background is in aircraft dispatch. I started off as an aircraft loadmaster doing military charter operations and got my dispatch certificate. I was a dispatcher there, worked in major airline, private charter, public charter, kind of bounced around a little bit. I got into management of operations of those operations control rooms. And at the same time, I was also doing some industry writing. Uh, I had an aviation website for a number of years and just some other speaking engagements. And I guess the combination of the communications and the operations stuff kind of came together to an amazing opportunity to join NBA. I've done some really cool things in my career, but coming here was uh, the sense of really playing Major League Baseball. So I'm really excited. It's been just about 8 years here at NBA for me.
Wow, that's awesome. Awesome. A lot of background in all sorts of areas. All right, cool. Kristi, how did you come into aviation and NBAA?
Well, I was born into aviation. My dad worked for Delta Airlines. He was not a pilot, but he was in the Tech Ops Center in Atlanta, Georgia. And so I knew I wanted to be in the aviation industry growing up. However, I went to Auburn University in their aviation management program. I started in the professional flight program, but I really geared towards the leadership and management side of aviation. And how I got into business aviation, there was an elective course at Auburn called Business and Corporate Aviation, and I knew nothing about that space. And so we were able to visit a lot of the NBA members in the area, in Atlanta and Birmingham and Columbus, Aflac and Columbus,
Ooh,
Georgia. And I'm still friends with those folks today.
nice.
But after Auburn, I was able to get pretty quickly after Auburn, I was able to get on with Home Depot's aviation department in Atlanta, Georgia,
Mhm. Yeah.
and in their scheduling dispatch department. And I grew with that flight department, grew with the company as it was growing. I'm not going to age myself, but this was a while ago. But I was also very quickly after um, joining Home Depot, I was asked to serve on NBA Schedulers and Dispatchers Committee.
Nice.
And so, not knowing a whole lot about the industry, that's really where I got a lot of the knowledge of the industry is engaging with the experts within NBAA, within that committee, and that was the beginning of building a network that still exists today. And once I was chair of the Schedulers and Dispatchers Committee was about the same time that Ed Bolin and Steve Brown started with NBAA, um, I was able to have lots of conversations around that time of what should my 5-year plan be, and I knew it was more of a geographic thing of
Mhm.
I'd like to live in the Northwest. I'd like to see what that's about. Well, that 5-year plan turned into more of a 6-month plan, and I was able to join NBAA as one of the regional reps at the time, um, the first scheduler dispatcher representation, and I was really excited to be able to learn more and more about the industry. So that was over 19 years ago that I started with NBAA, and I'm delighted to continue to learn in this role today.
What a cool story of how you really just jumped in and it led you to essentially, a huge change in your career.
5-minute conversations. Yeah, you never know what a 5-minute conversation in our industry will turn into, and that's exactly what happened. So.
It's very true. I'll put a plug into the for the Northwest area too. I mean, I know Chrissy, you live in Montana area, and I've been I had lived in that area as well, and I agree, it's one of the most beautiful places out there. So
Very
very
fortunate,
cool.
yes.
Yeah. Okay, I kind of want to know, what is it that you guys do on a weekly basis? Do you travel a lot? Like, who are you talking to?
Every email is a different topic from the previous.
Okay.
We regional directors, in a way, wear the hat of almost every department, a little bit of everything that NBA does. We do and encourage and promote and help our members with all of those within our respective regions. Do we travel? Yes. I'm in a Marriott right now. It's a busy time of year for travel. A lot of conferences, a lot of things have been happening. We do travel a good portion. We are home based, but it's everything. It's advocacy, it's legislation, it's helping our members with membership questions. Hey, how do we get the most of this? How do we navigate our industry, airport issues, airspace issues, all of these different things, making sure that our members feel heard, served, and represented in the work that we do. You know, letting them feel that we are there for them. We're not just this name and an entity in DC. We're out in the field with our people.
Nice. Nice.
Bill's absolutely right. We never have the same day or week, day after day, week after week, year after year. It's always a new issue. It's always a new question. It's fun to get the questions that we're actually digging in and learning on as well. So, but our strength in the regional program at NBAA is connecting the dots. It's connecting the people that are asking the questions to the expertise that they need, or other people or other stakeholders in the industry, or creating awareness with our members within our industry of what's going on that's going to impact them. Sometimes it's playing whack-a-mole of, oh my gosh, this legislation was just dropped, nobody was aware of it, and we're creating awareness and fully understanding what's going on. And
Okay.
it's a lot of connecting the dots, and I think that's where our strength and where we shine.
I love it. And I'm going to get into dig in a little bit more on how us as members can get more out of our membership. That's going to be a little bit later on. But um, anything that like really surprised you a lot when you joined NBAA?
I think for my part, I was a member of NBAA and really utilized the NBA services and resources and tools on a minute to minute, day to day basis in my role at Home Depot. I was surprised at how many more resources I wasn't even aware of that NBA has.
Mm-hmm.
Even today, when I did I went through the CAM program a few years ago and was digging into some of the resources that we had, and even as an NBA staff member, oh, I didn't know we had that. So imagine an NBA member who's tackling their day-to-day job and getting the emails every day from NBAA or digging into our magazines. It is impossible to really have an awareness of every single tool and resources that we have. So
Yep.
making sure that you're connecting with us to say, what am I missing? But also educating our members. I think one of the first things that I learned from a very prominent operating member in my region when I first started, we were dealing with a legislative issue in the state, and this person who was also a leader of one of the regional groups was saying, "Oh, NBA is going to swoop in and just fix this for us." And
Mm-hmm.
that was the mentality at the time. I think it's improved a lot as far
Okay.
as, well, NBA is actually here to give us, we're definitely going to fight the issues, but we are going to give you the tools to fight the issues yourselves as well and make sure you have the talking points that you are, if you're the constituent in a state, they want to hear from you. They don't
Yeah.
necessarily want to hear from a national group coming in. They're going to hear from a national group coming in, but they definitely want to hear from their constituents. And so we're definitely going to give you the resources and tools to be able to do that. So, Phil,
Point. Power in numbers.
that's
Mm-hmm.
right.
Yeah, I was really, it's one of those things that you know, but really enforced the value of the relationships in our industry. Our industry, you know, business aviation is largely, it's a ton of small and medium-sized businesses,
Yeah.
and everyone's willing to kind of hate the term silo, but we kind of step outside of our little companies' bubbles and interact with each other and learn from each other and lean on each other. Even if the overall business, they could be competing entities, but the flight
Mm-hmm.
departments are all on the same team. we're all trying to take care of business aviation. We all care about safety. We can get together at a conference or at a convention at base, and there's so much value in that. I was amazed to see how close everybody is. And then especially through COVID, as we started to reemerge, just reinforcing the obvious that you cannot replace face-to-face engagement in our industry. We are so much stronger when we get together. And I really, it's one of those things that I always kind of knew, but really seeing that firsthand constantly, regional groups, at base, whatever it is, bigger or small, the relationships are really what really impressed me a lot when I got into this side of the industry.
Oh gosh, very true. And of course, we're just coming off the Schedulers and Dispatchers Conference in Cleveland, and I know you guys were both there, and I was as well. It was a great conference, and yeah, agreed. That face-to-face relationship and networking is out of this world.
What a great event. I mean, that event has always been such a touchstone for the doers that that are making these operations happen, but the decision makers, but the continuation, the extension of these flight departments. And thank you, Lindsay, for speaking on a panel. I saw that you were speaking it. So it really is. It has to rely on our members and our stakeholders to provide that education, that connection. So what a great it was. I'm still riding the high of the energy of last week in Cleveland. So thank you.
I agree. That was a great one. Very cool. All right, so let's switch a little bit away from your particular experience into more of what a member would experience. If you're a member, or a new person, you're going to sign up for an NBAA membership. What are you actually getting in that membership?
You know, I know that we have a vast list of NBA member resources. I think one of the things that Phil and myself and the other regional directors, as we're engaging with these members at their level, in their flight departments, at their FBOs, what's important to you? We ask that question, and it is different for every single individual, sure, every single company. So where we as NBAA are able to shine is we are providing the tools and resources for so many different aspects of business aviation. So you ask some people what's important to them, and advocacy is the most important thing. And we have an incredible team of government affairs, not only in DC, but as part of the regional program as well, at the local and state level, tackling so many issues. But we are a small but mighty group of staff members at NBAA. I believe we're at 65 or so now, right, Phil? And we are passionate and dedicated to make sure that our industry thrives. So we are going to bat for every single one of our members wherever we can. So there's your advocacy, but we want to make sure that you have the tools as well. So perhaps it's education, perhaps it's growth within your own role. You might not have a lot of upward mobility at the moment, but we have tools for you to extend your education, extend your growth, extend your leadership, your knowledge. We have tools for engagement with young professionals. We have mentoring programs. We have connection in so many different areas. I know Phil can probably fill in what I'm not, but advocacy is what we hear a lot. Education is what we hear a lot. Connection and networking, and the marketplace as well, to be able to connect products and services and our members and exhibitors. Like BASE is so important for us to provide that platform for our members to really connect with the products and services that are available for our industry and the people that are providing these things for our members, operating members. Phil?
Yeah, I think of representation. You're a lot of our members, like, hey, you folks fly the airplanes. We'll take care of the industry stuff. We'll help be your voice and help provide you. There's also, it's a different form of mentorship as well, I think. Whether you're an individual starting your career, if you're a flight department, we want to mentor the flight department. We want to mentor the charter operator to help them navigate what's next. The things that they could use some help with, and it's very custom. So there are a lot of different resources. So you have someone who's about to graduate, college, and they're like, hey, where do I go with my career? They're going to get a different answer of what we can do for them versus the 20-year captain or the flight department manager, or even someone from a vendor who says, "Hey, I've got something great here, a great service that can really enhance the industry. How do I get plugged in?" Uh,
Hmm.
it's a different answer for everyone, and we really do have something for everyone. And as Kristi said, there are 65 of us, and every time I get to see my coworkers, I'm always uh, blown away at the talent and drive of them. And I kind of can't wait to get home to do more work because I'm so motivated by my teammates. It's a really good group of people, and I'm always impressed at how much we as an association, not myself, but the rest of the association, what we bring out there to our people. I'm very proud to be associated with it.
And you should be. I agree. So I've been a member for many years, probably 14 just on my own, and then with previous companies, I've been a member as well. And some of it is also you get out of it what you kind of look for or want to, because you also have to search in there. A quick search will give you all sorts of stuff. Like we look for SMS, help for SMS, help for small operators. So that's kind of our lane. But if you look for it, it's there. Almost always it's there. You just need to search. And yeah, it's a good reminder to all of us to use it as a tool.
Right.
And if you can't find it, you reach out to your regional director, and we'll help you out. That's specifically
Right,
we're
right.
kind of supposed to be a front line. We're kind of like your 911 dispatcher or your quarterback. We kind of take care of whatever we can't do ourselves. We're I know a guy who knows a guy. We're supposed to be that person for you.
I love
That's right.
that.
That's
Yeah,
right.
it is. It really is. So you guys have a lot of influence on regulatory things. What are a couple of examples of things that NBAA has helped the industry change that maybe us, I guess I would call us me an operator, but operators in general might not realize?
So one of the things that I would like to point out is that whether it's, for lack of a better word, in your face or not, our team, our small but mighty team all over the place is representing business aviation in so many various capacities. Whether it's on FAA, ops specs working groups, whether it's advisory committees, whether it's, you know, national groups, national associations, but from the local and regional level, the regional directors, as well as in partnership with some of these awesome regional business aviation groups around the country, which are autonomous. We are making sure that business aviation is represented at airport master plans and in airspace discussions and legislative initiatives. So from that perspective, we have a seat at the table and we have a voice. We might not be the loudest voice in the room, but we are the voice of reason that's being listened to, which is good. And that's where NBA really, again, shines and thrives, is we are making sure that we are listening to our members to find out what's important to them, so that we, as we have a seat at the table on the national and local and regional level, we are accurately and exceptionally representing our members.
Nice. Yep. So that kind of brings me to my next one. We talk a lot about make your voice heard, and you talked a lot about right now being able to represent what the operators in your region might want. What does that mean to you? Make your voice heard.
I think it's a little case by case. It depends on what the topic at hand is. We have legislative issues sometimes, as an example, where we need those stories. We come in as a national association with a lot of great numbers about the value of our industry, about the value of business aviation. But at the same time, sometimes when there's testimony that's needed, for example, uh, we want to hear those local stories. Hey, I am a local business and I employ this many people,
Mhm.
and this piece of legislation affects me in this way, that way, and this one. Um,
Okay.
the stories and that kind of engagement is very important. Uh, and sometimes we really need that. We're a very NBAA packs a punch when we show up to an issue that's out there. But we also can't do it alone. Kind of what Kristi was saying. A lot of our work is empowering the grassroots effort, empowering the local voices, and the local businesses. And a lot of businesses don't really have the freedom to do a lot of that. So we have to do some of that for them. For those
Sure.
who can, it's about having a whole bunch of different things in our tool belt, and being able to help our members have their voices heard, whether we're speaking for them or maybe it's them lending their own and us helping them out with that. It's case by case, but it's a collective industry effort.
Phil, can I jump in real quick on that? From our perspective, and Lindsay, your experience, and Phil's experience in our roles prior to NBA staff members, we were not able to always represent our company
Sure.
in what we used to have as contact Congress and any kind of calls to action and things like that. We might not have the permission of our leadership and the company leadership to do that. I think one of the biggest things that I educate our members on all the way through the flight departments, all the way through these FBOs, all the way through these service provider companies is you can still have an impact. You can still have a voice. If we have a voter voice, which is what Contact Congress has turned into, a voter voice call to action, you can tweak that message. So if we say, go ahead and look at this letter template and it goes directly to your elected officials, you can go in and say, rather than I am an employee of this company, you can say I am a, flight operations member or a flight department member at this airport, and you can leave your company out of it if you have to. So you can still weigh in. Those numbers of advocacy can still come in.
Okay.
However, it can be done on a way that doesn't get your hand slapped with your company, but still representing and advocating for business aviation. So please do so. I mean, let us know. Like Phil said, reach out to us. We're going to find the ways that you can plug in and represent business aviation, but we're going to give you the tools to do so.
And reaching out to us is important as well, because it's impossible for us to know everything. I want to
Yeah.
know the opinions of our members. I want to say, hey, when I used to have, especially during COVID, I kind of I felt like a lot of our members were they just wanted to call and vent and I want to hear the complaints. The more that you tell me about the challenges in your operation, the more I can, one, find out, bring you resources to try to help you, or two, kind of take that and say, hey, I'm kind of seeing an industry trend here where a lot of our members are experiencing X, Y, and Z that I had no idea of until they told me about it. And then I can kind of go back to speak to folks at headquarters and everyone, our teammates, and say, is anyone else seeing this? What can we do about this? How do we address this? So the communication, we need that local intel, and that's what we as regional directors try to do. We want to get that stuff on the front lines there, so that we can raise that voice.
Mm-hmm.
I want to hear the complaining. Tell me what's tough about your day, and how do we fix it?
What's working? Yeah, we want to hear what's
Yeah,
working too.
yeah,
Right?
yeah. That's true too. Yeah.
But also, what we're doing well and how we can continue that. What's important to you, and I think that's where that building relationships come in that we talked about earlier. Is as we're
Mhm.
continuing to build relationships with our members, and not just so the way that NBA's company membership works is we of course have the member rep with the company, and a lot of times a lot of our information flows directly to that member rep, and we assume sometimes that information from NBAA is flowing down through that company, and that's not necessarily the case. Maybe even they assume that
Right.
their line service, their line captains, their dispatcher is getting all the same NBA emails and information that they are, and that's not the case. So
Mhm.
an awareness on our part to make sure that we're filtering that information to as many folks as we can, but also just engaging, whether it's at our events, it's at these regional events, or visiting these departments and just saying, what's important to you and how can I serve you? How can NBA serve you better? And again, like Phil said, like I've said, it's across the board what's important to them. It's so funny when I've gone into a flight department and they might have just signed up for an NBA membership just to attend one of our events.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
again, and when I walk, oh, I don't even know how to log into my account. I don't know this. I don't know that. And I'll sit with them at their computer and just say, okay, let's go through these resources. And
Yep.
the jaws on the floor of, oh, I didn't know you guys did that. Oh, I didn't know you guys did that. So our assumption that everybody's waking up, sleeping, eating, breathing NBAA information day to day, That's not true. We have to make sure that we're connecting them to the right tools and let them and make it easy for them, right, to get to as well. So,
And
Yep.
we see that at base too, not just membership itself, but even just attending base. I remember early, I had early when I after I joined after my first base with NBA, someone said, "Oh, it was good. I had a lot of fun. And they seemed like they didn't get a lot out of it." Well, you're my friend, you're doing it wrong. Let's sit down. Let's form your plan next time, and let
Yes.
me like. And it woke me up, and I realized like I need to uh, give each of our members who want to have a chat a kind of like a custom plan. Like, hey, let's just have a quick 15-20 minute call. Let's make sure you know all the resources that you have.
Yeah.
What's your mission? What do you want to do? Oh, that's what you're up to. These are 3 educational sessions that I think you should check out. Don't forget about this evening event. Um, Look at the floor plan, wear comfy shoes, and all the tips and things like that, so that they can go in with a plan and get the most out of it. Because there's
Mhm.
so much there, and I would, if you just show up to base and wander, you'll have a great time, but you can get so much more value out of that. We want you all to have a good time. It's amazing, Let's do it.
and have all the takeaways that you want. I think Phil's spot on. I think one of the things that the regional team has been doing pre-base is offering that connection with our members, especially the folks that have never been to base, but
Mhm.
even those that have gone for years saying, gosh, it's so overwhelming, or what's new this year, or what do I need to know about this year? And we'll sit on, with them and walk them through the app, which, gosh, if you're not downloading the apps to our events, please do so, because that's your toolkit to engage and really lay out your plan. Like Phil says, you can highlight the exhibits you want to go to, the sessions you want to go to. And one of the things I talked at schedulers about, and I came from an operating member, and you have so many of our wonderful exhibitors that not feel that sometimes, because they might only have one or two people at their booth, they don't get the chance to go to our education sessions. And
Yeah.
so maybe planning more people at the booth if you can, to be able to
Yeah.
spread that out. These sessions are for you as well. They're for everybody, and there's some really great valuable knowledge that's happening at these education sessions. So it's something for everybody. But yeah, making your plan ahead of time is important. Good call, Phil.
I love it. So many good points in there. I mean, just even the fact that if you don't know the operator is upset about something or happy about something, if they don't tell you, you don't know how to advocate which way. The communication is a big thing. Using your resources, I try and tell my team too. Log into NBAA, and sometimes I'll admit they're like, I didn't even know we had access to that, and I'm like, yeah, the whole team does. Look into it. Gosh, so many good points you guys just had. So thank you. Let's switch over kind of to future types of things. Where do you think that MBAA overall or regional is going to impact the most in aviation over the next, I don't know, 3 years?
So I think we had and have a seat at the table on the FAA reauthorization bill that was huge.
Yeah.
I think that the implementation of that, but our joining the Modern Skies Coalition
Mm-hmm.
of industry-wide agreement on, we need to update the infrastructure. We need to make sure that we continue to be the safest airspace in the entire world, and have the resources available and the financial commitment available to make sure these upgrades are happening in a timely manner. And so I think where NBA had a wonderful seat at the table for a lot of that legislation, and a lot of the implementation of that is really key from a national perspective. From a local and regional perspective, I will say, we're, like Phil said, we can't be everywhere. We want to be everywhere. We are a team of 4 regional directors now that are small and mighty as well, but we are trying to make sure that we are hearing about what's going to affect our members. So we're engaging at the local and regional group level, and with our industry partners across each of the states. There's some great examples like the Washington State Aviation Alliance. Um, I I'm going to pass to Phil, because Phil just went through a huge battle in Washington State, where the collaboration and industry stakeholder collaboration and engagement was so key in that. But it's those types of things that we have to make sure that we are at the table and fighting those things and aware of those things. So like Phil said, make sure you give us a call if you hear about something coming down the pike. Make sure you give us a call if there's something that you're not happy about, or if you want us to do more on. We certainly want to hear from you, and we do listen. The entire NBA staff, we listen. Like Phil said, we bring things up to our meetings with our ops team, with our advocacy team, with our events team, education team, with our membership marketing team. We have so many great experts within our staff, but we're passionate about making sure that our members' voices and concerns are heard. So if you're thinking that I might input an email or pick up the phone and call or send something to our ops group and it's not being heard, there it is, I assure you. So Phil, I want to make sure that you talk about some of these local, especially these state issues that might surprise people, that especially in Washington State, what's been happening.
Yeah, it's kind of hot off the presses as of yesterday from the day we're recording this. 10 months ago, Washington State passed an aircraft tax bill that brought a really heavy tax, a 10% tax on aircraft valued over $500,000. And it only affected general aviation. That's on top of the existing 10% tax that is already there. And this, it was very a misinformed bill that it wasn't realized the awful ramifications that the state would feel. And the bill was supposed to take effect today, and we had a clock to kind of try to stop it. This truck rolling down the mountain, and like, how do we stop this? And unfortunately, that so many people were scared about this date coming, and some operations already started moving their aircraft out of state, altering their plans to develop in the state, to invest in the state. Some people lost their jobs as well. Just the fear of this taking effect was already bringing great pain to the aviation industry. We came out, we were empowering local grassroots efforts with our regional groups, specifically the Pacific Northwest Business Aviation Association, and they were really able to take the lead on this with NBA's support, and just did an amazing job. And yesterday, the governor signed a bill that repealed that tax, and it was replaced with a fuel tax, which we don't love, but compared to the business hemorrhage that this other tax brought, this is something that actually allows us to invest in our own industry through that tax. So it's a big win for us, and I think it shows a lot of what we can do and what we need to do on a grassroots level. And those are some of the lessons that we continue to grow on and continue to develop as we start to see state level legislation that has effects outside of the state. That tax was for new aircraft, existing aircraft, and out of state aircraft. This wasn't just a sales tax. So it had national effects.
Wow.
We protect
and
that.
other states watch these things, right? And so what's so surprising to all of us that have been engaged with this, and kudos to Phil, and like he said, it is hot off the presses, and you see his wonderful face behind the governor in the press release that went out. Cool. But Washington has a wonderful state legislative general aviation caucus. They have a Washington State Aviation Alliance. It is a very well connected, well educated state for aviation, general aviation, business aviation, and this still was able to come down the pike, and it was still a battle, and it was still something that that our members and our stakeholders and our fellow stakeholders within the state had spent months battling. So kudos to the collaboration, but this could happen anywhere. So you have to remain alert. And I think one of the things we talked about early on is, how do we prevent these types of things? There are opportunities for our members, our stakeholders, to introduce themselves to, whether it's their county commission over an airport, whether it's a local, a city council, whether it's your state legislators, or at the federal level. You can simply write, use use our tools on the Climbing Fast website, use our tools with the Modern Skies Coalition, use our tools on the NBA website for advocacy. There's a great publication that we have of engaging with your elected officials. So folks starting from beginning that are like, oh, they don't want to hear from me, or I don't know what to say, we will help you. But introducing yourselves and talking about the importance of airports and business aviation in the state, we have a great story to tell. Our industry has a great story to tell. There are misperceptions out there, and it's our job to clear up those misperceptions. And it's NBA's job to make sure that our members have the talking points and the tools, whether it's the number of jobs, whether it's the economic impact in the state, that is all out there. And a quick and dirty email or letter to your elected official just saying, just so you know, I'm watching. Aviation is important to me, my family, the contributions that I give financially, you know, through taxes and everything to my local community and to my state. So if you are seeing anything that comes down the pike that could affect my well-being and my job, then just know that you're going to hear from me. And so that's when NBA can show up and come in, and our elected officials are like, yeah, I've heard from your industry. So it's the hardest when we come in, whether it's in DC or whether it's in the state level, and they say, oh, well, this is, you know, why is this important? Because none of my constituents have been reaching out to me about this. So introducing before you're having to put out a fire is so important. And some of these wonderful regional groups like the Georgia Business Aviation Association just did a great business aviation day at the Capitol in Atlanta, and did such a wonderful job. Shout out to Chandler Brown and the GBAA who put this together, and they had 40 people show up. They met with 12 or 13 legislators, and they really made a difference. And so and these were a lot of people, and they had all facets of business aviation that were there, so they could say, you know, I'm a mechanic, I'm a dispatcher, I work for an FBO, I work for a manufacturer. And the legislators are like, oh, really? I didn't realize that was business aviation. So showing up, you know, we'll help you
Humanizing it.
But just humanizing it.
Humanizing our industry. We're not, it's not just an airplane on the other side of this fence.
Right.
Yep.
You know, it's people, it's jobs, it's connectivity. The airport is a neighbor in your community. Another example, I mean, aside from, you know, reaching out to your elected officials ahead of time to form that awareness, reaching out to your Chamber of Commerce is something that I've been encouraging as well. You know, when you can form an ally with a non-aviation entity like a Chamber of Commerce, when there's a fight to be had, you've got and a non-aviation entity shows up and say, hey, these aviation folks, they're all right. They're a part of us. Like, they're important. Absolutely. That's a really, really valuable voice. And also, I say like when there's a fight to show up to, like we talk about Washington State, this bill, you know, we can say it was a battle, it was a fight and everything like that. And as a New Yorker, those are words that the reality is that we worked to get a seat at the table to create a partnership with some of these elected officials who were like, you know what, these aviation folks are not our adversary. We can work together. It's like, hey, maybe radical concept. If we want to form some aviation related legislation, let's work with the industry to see how we can really move the needle forward together. You know, it's diplomacy and working together. For as angry as we can get about some of these topics, you know, sitting down and really having these conversations to create a partnership at that level is key.
That's true. And I'll just jump in here a little bit. Most of our listeners are in the scheduling dispatch realm. And I find a lot of times, like you were talking about earlier, Kristi and Phil, you as well, that sometimes we feel like maybe it doesn't matter what we have to say. But like the reauthorization bill that you were talking about earlier as well, that does affect us, because if we can create a better ATC format, etc., our airplanes can go places faster and easier and safer. So it does affect us. And Phil, the one that you were talking about just now in Washington, I could totally see where dispatch and scheduling might be one of the first places that get cut for jobs. So if an aircraft is moving out of state, it could mean the loss of a dispatch or scheduling job, which of course I'm very, I don't want to happen ever. So
Our industry, I always say we're not in the transportation industry. We're in the safe transportation industry. No one's getting on any airplane anywhere unless they know that it's safe. And I
Yeah.
think when we talk about reauthorization, one aspect is just investing in our own safety culture that has gotten us to this really high point in safety. And one thing also about NBA, we're so involved with safety. Uh, I think we've shown a good ability to evolve and pivot in the safety discussion because the safety concerns and threats change. The we're not dealing with the same threats from 30, 40 years ago. We're not having the same safety conversation that we were having 14 months ago.
Yeah.
Sure.
And and being able to continue to evolve and grow allows our industry to, it's not perfect, but we strive for zero. And that's really, and we take that seriously, where safety is number one for us, and we try to work for that in all levels, whether you're a scheduler, dispatcher, pilot, baggage handler, fueler, whatever that is. We all rely on that. We all have a hand in that. So,
And the voices,
uh,
every voice is important. Every voice is important. And just like you said, Lindsay, how does a scheduler and dispatcher? I mean, I was in the same boat. Oh, my director will handle that for us.
Yeah.
They'll represent us in that. But no, I mean, showing the humanity, as Phil was saying earlier, of the different roles within business aviation kills those perceptions of what our industry is about, the negative perceptions, the misperceptions, if you will. So putting that human face, I am a scheduler dispatcher, you know, at Boeing Field, and this is important to me. And what you're doing is affecting my livelihood and my ability to stay in this area. But I think, I mean, go even talking about the Modern Skies Coalition. I saw a tab on their website, modernskies.com, of they also have a form to fill out saying, click here. It's kind of like our Contact Congress, in our voter voice. It's click here to show your elected official how this is important to you. So anybody can do that. It's a click
Yeah.
here. We're trying to make it, everybody's trying to make it easier for you guys to engage.
Right.
But like you said, Lindsay, earlier, you have to put the skin in the game too.
Yeah.
You have to click there and fill out your information. So
Yeah.
we'll connect you with that. But all and the safety resources, like Phil said, I think an awareness, and I'm circling around to some of the things you've asked earlier, Lindsay, of what are people not aware that NBA does. I mean, we have
Yeah.
a safety forum at base, and we have a small flight department safety resources. We have single pilot safety resources. So the perception, even within our industry, within general aviation and business aviation, that, NBA is only for the big iron and the large flight departments, is a misconception. We have so many tools for your small mom and pop shops and your small flight departments. And we are really representing those at the table as well. Phil?
and how many schedulers and dispatchers will say, "Yeah, my company is a member of NBA." It's like, but do you have your own login? Which if your company is a member,
True.
you should have your own login. Oh, I don't know. What am I going to do with that? Let's sit down and discuss that. You know what I mean? And that's kind of, and it comes down to that custom,
Yeah.
what the value that we can bring it. Every people at member companies should have their own logins. And if you're an individual who's not employed by one right now, getting a professional membership and having access to all of these things. And you have questions about it, we have our membership team, and you have your regional directors. This is
That's
what
right.
we're here for. Reach out to us. This is literally what we're here for. It sounds like we're really nice people, and we are, but we get paid to help you. This is a part of it.
Right. Well, I was part of the small flight department committee a couple years ago and stuff, and I was like, oh, I didn't even realize this existed. And look at all of these things. And at that point, they were putting together the single pilot resources, and what a cool thing. I think that was maybe one of my first realizations of the fact that there's so many resources in there that I just had no idea were there.
Well, and thank you, by the way, because we have so many wonderful standing committees like that and working groups that are offshoots of these standing committees that are made up of our members as volunteers. I mean,
Yeah.
these are people giving back to our industry for the greater good of our industry, right? Sure, it looks great on a resume, but honestly, these people are doing it for the, just like you have done multiple times in multiple ways, giving back to our industry with your knowledge, your expertise, your experience. We could not do what we do at NBAA without our volunteers, without the industry expertise that is on these standing committees, the tools that we put out, the resources that we put out. I think I saw at IOC there was an update to the GA Customs resource that's a member-only resource that was done by the International Operators Committee. We've talked about the Safety Committee that puts out the top safety focus areas, as Phil said, changes every year, every few months sometimes, I really love seeing we have the focus on culture and professionalism in the safety realm. And then that drills down to the small flight departments and how are we making sure that they feel included as well in this conversation, because their experience is so key to this. So thank you, Lindsay. I just wanted to say your volunteerism in giving back to our industry, and you are one of many that do that, but thank you for that.
I love it. I had a great time. And I want to point out too, when you left right into being part of NBAA when you were early on in your career with the SDC committee, you don't have to be an expert in your field. Like, you don't have to have tenure around before you start volunteering. I mean, that's where you start learning. Yeah, I did not know as much before I started volunteering, helping out.
There's an imposter syndrome that all of us have, right, in everything that we do, and I think that goes to serving on committees, that goes to weighing in on with your elected officials, but absolutely, we want to hear from the folks we're not hearing from, because there are so many people that are like, oh, they don't want to hear from me, I'm not the top expert on this. No, we want to hear from you. We want your volunteerism. We want you to serve. And a lot of times it's the folks that aren't seeking the spotlight or the glory, if you will, or the resume builder that we really want to hear from, because they're the doers. They're the ones, in the trenches every day, experiencing whatever the operational issues are. And they're the ones finding the solutions, whether it's via NBAA or somewhere else. But we want to make sure that we're hearing from them and that they are at the table helping us make the decisions on what our priorities are. So
good point. Okay, so I want to kind of drill down into exactly what does that mean on how getting involved. What would you suggest the first 3 steps would be to get involved in the best way possible?
I'm going to start again. Sorry, Phil, but I was thinking about this a lot because it is going to be different for everybody. But there's some basic things that we as NBA assume that our folks are already doing that we know, Phil and I know, that they're not. One of them is, are you signing up for NBA's press releases? Yeah. Are you getting those in your email? Have you signed up to get the NBA Insider Daily, which is the blips of what's hot in our industry from not only NBA, but across the industry every single day in your inbox. And you have the ability to say, click here for more information about this issue if it's important to you. We have, of course, the Business Aviation Insider, but if you're not signing up for that on the NBAA level, do so. Follow NBAA on LinkedIn, follow NBAA on social media. If you're a YoPro, follow NBA YoPro on LinkedIn and all the social medias. But do that with your regional groups as well. They also are putting out information about their events, about scholarships, about mentoring, about educational events, scholarship events, golf tournament, you name it, networking events that they're putting out there on their socials. But they also might have a sign up for their email distribution list. So just first, without doing anything else, you don't even have to jump in and comment, but just start following, start getting the information if you're not already getting it. And a lot of it is not behind the firewall, right? You can sign up for press releases without, but as we talked about earlier, make sure you have your login to NBAA. Show up is number 2. Show up to NBAA events. Cannot tell you how engaging they are and how many takeaways that you're going to have, no matter if it's one of our conferences, a PDP, a base. exceptional capabilities to connect with other people in our industry and show up to these regional group events. Because again, these are volunteers putting these on as well. And this is where you're going to see and network with the folks um, around your local and regional area. Number three, I would just say continuous engagement.
Okay.
So so you've signed up for these things, you're watching these things, you're getting the emails, you're following them on social media, then you can start promoting. You start to get that confidence of, hey, I can do this too. I can start. Maybe I should have our flight department have an internship program. Maybe I should sign up as a mentor at NBAA. I can do these things, you know.
Mhm.
So, Phil, I'm going to turn it over to your top three because they might be different than mine.
No, it's similar. Making sure that you're plugged into what's happening in the industry, having that awareness by being signed up for stuff. Get whether it's email, social media, all those things. Just know what is going on. That is key, and that allows you. It's just situational awareness. And that's what we do in our industry. Uh, um, and then just also kind of knowing what you want. People like when you go out to an event, the networking is key. Forming relationships that will help you build your own company's safety culture, the professional development. We're taking our PDP courses on the road to all of our regions each year. What PDPs are showing up in your area? How do what's the topic there? How do I encouraging my coworkers to also become engaged? Hey, this PDP course is coming up. Do you want to, it's an hour and a half away. We'll go there, we'll spend the day, and then, uh, we'll do it together as a team. Um, all of these things are different ways to engage. Also, your own career. You want to grow your career, uh, finding who your next mentor is going to be, the networking that's involved. You become the person who, hey, I know a guy who knows a guy. That becomes you because you're out there and you're engaged at the regional level, at the national level, with if it's an NBA standing committee. These are all it's our people. It's what I said at the beginning of our chat about uh, how close everybody is. How we can have so many thousands of companies and still we all know each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I still don't understand how that happens, but the value by stepping outside of our operation to engage with one another, the options are limitless. I managed to say the sky's not the limit there. I'm proud of myself.
Awesome. The regional groups, and I'm not sure if my vocabulary part of that is wrong because you guys put together, or volunteers put together the regional groups, like the White Plains one, and I believe there's
Oh, okay.
one in Florida. But additionally, you've got all the different states, and some states have more than one group. Like you talked about the Pacific Northwest Business Aviation Group, that they're very active.
Mhm.
Um, California has two of them that are pretty active. There's some really great, just state-based aviation
Yeah.
associations, that you can actually go to. You talked about actually going to the event. So if you have a company that's not paying you to go to maybe some of these larger like base events, you could go to a local one. It might be just 30 minutes down the road. And I know at least California, they try and move their events into different locations so that everybody can
Right.
go. Not everybody's in the Bay Area, so sometimes they come up here to Sacramento, and I really appreciate that. They're nice, they're fun. So yeah, look around in your state. What's close by? And yeah, those are
We're,
fun.
Yeah,
we're, for a little clarification, so the regional forums, the one that was just in Opelika, Florida, and the one that's coming up in May in White Plains, those are NBAA events. They're
Okay.
hosted by NBAA, held by NBAA. We do a lot of local collaboration and make sure that we have local voices there, like elected officials as part of it. We put together education sessions as part of it. There is a display of aircraft, and it's we have the exhibitors as well. So it's kind of a mini NBA base, if you will, in your
Yeah.
backyard, hopefully. And those are very valuable. We're trying to do those around the country, but where we're going to make sure that we have some really great collaboration. Florida is new to my region as of last year, and so this I was able to participate and do a lot with the Opelika Forum and really get to know our members in the area as well and what's important to them. And of course, some really exciting new technology and things like AAM and eVTOLs and things like that. And the corridors in Florida are very, very new and exciting. And the legislative support of those things is fun. For separately, the regional business aviation groups across the country, like you said, these are all, they're not NBAA groups. They're not under our umbrella. They are all autonomous groups. And what we do as NBA is make sure that we are, if they want it, we provide a lot of the resources for their success and growth and succession planning and we're providing tools like sample sample documents that they can use to structure themselves, because they're all volunteers and there's new leaders of those groups every time elections happen. And so we're helping educate to make sure they're providing scholarships. I mean, one of the things that you said is if they can't go to something and they're, on a national level, we're trying to do something in their backyard. Well, a lot of times, a lot of these groups are doing not only scholarships for students, but what I've seen more and more of is grants and scholarships for existing industry professionals to be able to either go to an NBA event or go to, a type rating or something like that. So the more that you're showing up, the more that you might be volunteering for these groups, you're going to be on their radar for maybe winning one of those grants or scholarships as well and doing more. But as Phil referenced earlier, NBAA started to say, what can we do even more of to collaborate with these regional groups, but also offer NBA love, if you will, in your backyard. And that's what he was referencing with the local and regional group PDPs. So we're trying to say, usually the PDPs historically have been in conjunction with one of our NBA conferences or base, right? That's where you sign up and go a couple days earlier, a couple days behind. And that's where the PDPs. Well, the wonderful Molly Hitch had the great idea of how do we make sure that we're offering these around the country in conjunction with these regional groups. And so a lot of these regional groups have done this. We've done this for, I think, two or 3 years now. And it's leadership, it's it's all the PDP course lists that you can look at, and these groups get to select what they want, and then they'll offer an event, whether it's a luncheon in the middle of it for all of their members or a networking hour that evening or a day before their safety day or something like that, where they're saying we're going to have skin in the game as well, and it's a collaborative event. So Phil's got one coming up in California soon too.
In Napa.
Who doesn't want to Napa? Yeah.
Is that the end of April?
Yeah, it's the day before the NorCal BAA's golf event. So the PDPs are in the day, then there's the evening event, and then the golf event the next day. And it's a great, part of the Napa pun, but it's a great pairing. So see what I did there?
Very good.
But it's a good way to, by, again, partnering with the regional groups, it allows them to bring additional value to their members as well. And it's, and every regional group is different. This isn't a copy and paste of what every state, every region, what NorCal needs is a little different from what SoCal needs for a number of reasons. So every group is different, and that's why every regional director is different, and every region overall is different. There are a lot of different things that are happening, and it all brings a different flavor. And like I said, every email is a totally different topic from the previous, and each regional group is the same.
You never know what your day is going to be.
Yeah.
And keeps us on our toes too, which is what we need to be. We learn every day, and I love it. I love that.
It's like dispatching.
Yeah.
Sure. Great. That's partly why I like dispatching. I never know what's going to happen during the day, and I love it that way. I just could not do the same thing over and over every day.
Yeah.
So I do love it. All right. I have a couple of more questions as we wrap this up. These will be rapid fire. We'll just, throw out some quick answers for this. Okay. So let's first go with what would surprise operators about NBAA?
I think the value of engagement and interacting with the other flight departments. I think I still see some operators who are not engaged and don't see all the things that we're working on for them. it's it's something I want to screen, and I'm always talking, and I'm like, how have you not heard me talking about all the things that we do for you? We care so much about our operators, and we are empowered the more that our operating members are also engaged. We want to hear from them. We want to tell them what we're up to. We want to show them that we're out there fighting for them. And that's key. The engagement is a two-way street, and I want to hear from more of them. The more that they share with us, the more that we can continue to do more for them. And I think that the more that they engage, the more that they see, hey, like, wow, these folks are they're out there doing this for us. We want them to see that.
Yeah,
Awesome.
we have a good story to tell, like I said earlier, but with just the vast amount of resources that we have for them that they're not aware of, and just to make sure they're tapping in with us so that we can connect them with those resources. I think that's the biggest surprise that they find out.
Cool. This kind of is similar question. The biggest misconception about NBAA.
That we are only an events association. We have wonderful events. We
Yes.
have great events. Please come to our events. Absolutely. It's so many values to coming, especially to base in our conferences and our PDPs and everything that we've listed today, the regional forums. We provide that platform. I mean, it is so important to us to make sure that we're connecting the dots and providing that platform. However, we have so much more. We have an incredible operations team. We have an incredible government affairs team. We have an incredible marketing and membership team. But we are providing so many various different tools in your toolkit. So we're not just an events association. It's an events and all this other great stuff for resources.
Yeah.
So,
We have seats in the room at the FAA Command Center representing business aviation in our national airspace system.
yeah.
We are literally in the room making sure that business aviation has room in the skies to operate on a day-to-day basis. People don't realize that.
Yeah. Shout out to our air traffic services team.
Yeah, what a great squad.
Yes.
We a lot of people think that NBA is this big event in October. It's the largest aviation convention in the world still, and people don't realize how much more is happening out there. We spend so much time celebrating our industry,
All year long.
and it's like, hey, by the way, like NBA is pretty great too. So we're trying to celebrate our wins more and more because we want our members to see that we care and we're out there fighting the fight.
Yep, good point. I think that's a really good point about that misconception. I see that as well. Okay, how about what's a common friction between operators and regulators? Like, why are we not agreeing sometimes?
I think it comes down to education. Yeah. I
Okay.
mean, it's really awareness and education.
Same word.
Yeah. I wouldn't even say friction. I think it's just a lack of awareness, honestly.
Okay.
And that's where we are at every table we can be at to educate. We're putting out the wonderful stories of our members out there. I mean, if you look at the Climbing Fast website, and some of the advocacy tools that we have, some of the member stories that we have on NBA's YouTube page and on our website, we have such a great story to tell. And thank you to those members that have agreed to do those case studies and talk about what business aviation is to them in their operation and talk about their airports. These are really great stories. So it's our job to make sure we're amplifying those stories out there, but we need more of those. We need more of those members that are willing to tell their stories. So if you are, let us know. I mean, so many of our members are doing some great things in sustainability, in eVTOLs, and I mean, so it blows our mind even on staff to say, gosh, I didn't know that this member was doing that. This is so exciting. Can we tell your story? And sometimes the answer is no, and that's okay. But when the answer is yes, we certainly want to advocate and promote and amplify that wonderful story to tell, because it just really is. Our industry is awesome. Phil?
Yeah, and when you say, regulators, when you think about the government agencies that manage, whether it's FAA and NTSB, any others, like we, TSA, CBP, we have relationships with these folks,
Mhm.
and it's, and generally we work to advocate for business aviation among a bunch of other stakeholders to make sure that what we're seeing develop represents us as best as we can. The legislator side of that, which also creates other law for us, is more challenging because that's a revolving door. You know,
Mm-hmm.
people can work at the FAA through their career and we have longer relationships. Legislators, elected officials, you know, could be a new person in the seat every 2 years. And that relationship that you built, that education that you brought
Mm-hmm.
vanishes. And
Start from scratch. Yeah.
you're back
Start.
to kindergarten, you
Yeah.
know, and it's like,
I haven't thought
okay,
about
so
that.
there are these things called airplanes, you know, and you got to start all over. So
Yeah.
that's a lot of the challenge. And then it goes back to the value of that grassroots local engagement. You have a new elected official. Hi, I'm company X, Y, and Z. I am one of your constituents. I
Mm-hmm.
employ, you know, 39 people, and this is how we contribute to your. And then maybe, you know, a few months or a few years, you know, down the road, if that elected official is still around, the relationship is there. You know,
Yeah.
that stuff is
Well,
key.
on that note, drilling back to what you said, Lindsay, what can the scheduler dispatcher do? So, with permission, of course, from your leadership, invite your city council member, invite your county commission,
Sure.
invite your state senator, state congressman or woman to your flight department for a tour. You know, bring them if your airport's not doing community days, if your
Mm-hmm.
if your airport doesn't have a tenants group and has this kind of community engagement, then a scheduler dispatcher could serve on the tenant group and say, hey, I can help, put together a community day to show the benefits of this airport and general aviation. So there are so many ways that, our industry is so secure and so private. So we have these gates, we have these flight departments that are not visible, and that's good, right? We need to keep that security and safety, but there are opportunities that we can certainly do, especially in the scheduler dispatcher role, to say, I am a human and this is important to me and I want to engage, have these conversations.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love it. You guys, you really have been great. And I just hope so many people listen to this because you've had so many good ideas. Again, thank you both for taking the time and for giving us really a behind the scenes look at how business aviation is actually represented by NBAA. So I'd say if there's one thing to take away from this conversation, it's that this industry really just isn't shaped at the top. It's shaped by the people in it. And that's how you guys have been, you've really been hammering that in this podcast. So you also really hammered in that there's way more opportunity than most of us realize, to be a part of that. So for those listeners, if you found this episode valuable, please share it with someone in your network, especially if someone's in scheduling, dispatch, or running a flight department. And don't forget to follow and like the podcast so you don't miss the future conversations like this one. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Thank you, Lindsay.
Thanks.